Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit on bell icon to get the latest updates on QA automation side.
Welcome guys. So in this section we will look into SQL interview questions with detailed solutions as well. And this is nowhere related to QA field, but when you try to attend for QA automation interviews, people will also see your basic SQL knowledge, like whether you know how to query, and there are some principles which are commonly used for any database, right? So people will try to test your knowledge on that. Yes, if you want to exclusively go and interview for SQL, that's a ocean. Okay, there are so many concepts, and people can drill you a lot on this SQL. But for QA positions, so there are some set of commonly asked questions, like most of the time, because these are the topics where frequently every software engineer have to come across in their journey when they are dealing with SQL. So people will try to test at least if you have some basic knowledge or not, right? So keeping that in mind, I have gathered interview questions from various students whoever have attended interviews for QA automation. So I have figured out what are commonly asked questions, and then I prepared this list. So let's go over this list, and I'm sure that we will cover pretty much most of the important concepts what people expect in interview as part of this section, right? So first, let's start with DDL, DML and DCL. What these terminologies stands for. So DDL is nothing but data definition language. So basically DDL commands will dealing with database schemas like creating table or updating the table. Like when you want to create a table in database, of course any table have a columns, right? So you can add one column or delete a column or create a fresh table or delete a table itself. So all the schema outer table related structure related commands comes under DDL commands, data definition. So if you see the picture here, so create command is used to create a table in database. Alter, so if you want to modify the columns or if you want to delete any columns of the table, see, not the content inside data, it's a structure. And if you want to delete the table itself, you use a drop. Or if you want to add a new column, or if you want to comment, so these are not related to content which is present inside the table, but it's more of like schema of that table and databases. Okay, so all these commands comes under DDL, which we call as a data definition language. Similarly, there is another terminology called DML. So this stands for data manipulation language. Now here where data content can be viewed. So if you want to know the content present in that table, the information of rows, so you use a select statement. Or if you want to insert a new row, a new content, right, inside the table, you use insert command. Or update the existing content if you want to change any value and delete any value. So basically all these DML commands will help you to modify, delete or add or retrieve content present in the table. So DDL is like modifying structure of the table, like adding few columns or something like that. Okay, and DML is all about content. So you might be asked a question like select statement is DDL or DML. So what exactly definition is for all these terminologies, right? So you should be able to explain by taking some commands as examples, like which falls under what category, right? So all SQL commands will fall into one of these categories, right? And next is DCL. That stands for data control language. If you want to approve the data, okay, so when you add the data, you can commit the data or you can revoke what all you did. So all this data control stuff comes under DCL. So it mainly deals with giving permissions to users to access the table or granting the permission. So all permission, access and data revoke stuff as comes under data control. And next is a TCL. So this stands for transaction control language. and these are the commands comes under TCL. So if you want to commit any new transaction or roll back the transaction, so that what all operations you did can be rolled back. Okay, and see, there is a slight difference between DCL and TCL. Okay, not every user will have permission to access all the tables in database. So the permissions can be controlled with the help of DCL commands, grant and revoke. But this is something where you roll back the content what you modified in your table. Right now, for example, you add a new data and then you commit that transaction, and then you can roll back the transaction so that data what you added can be rolled back, right? And you can have some save point, debug points, and set transaction. All this stuff comes under transaction control language, right? So you have to remember this table, and whenever you get a question, this should pop up in your mind to answer where exactly your commands will go. Right, so that's pretty much about DDL, DML, DCL and TCL, which are 4 categories for any SQL command. Okay, next. So how can you filter the duplicate data while retrieving the records from the table? Right, so now for example, this is your table. Okay, so table name is library. So if you want to retrieve all the data in your table, you can just give the command select star from library. So this query will give you all the data present in your table. But if you see here, there is some duplicate values, Selenium Shetty and Selenium Shetty. So book name and author name have repeated multiple times. But if you want data to filter out the duplicate keywords and get only the unique values, now if you want something like this, then you use a keyword called distinct. So just add select distinct keyword, okay, so that it will select only the unique rows and eliminate duplicates. Right, nice. So the question is straightforward. The keyword where people expect you to answer here is a distinct keyword, which filter duplicate. Good. This was interesting question. What is difference between char and varchar data types? So basically, when you create a new table, you follow some structure and provide data type to each and every column. Now here, so you have a table called name, branch code and employees. So employees can be integer data type and name branch code can be strings. But for string data types, there are a number of variations are there. So 2 of those variations are char and varchar, right? So when you create data type as char, now for example, if you create a name column, and obviously you should provide what data type name is, so that table will understand if it is a strings or integers or decimal values, whatever. If you define this name field as a char data type, so that means char is used to define fixed length of table, right? So you can say char of 5, so that it will allow only 5 characters in this column. If you try to give more than that, then it will throw an error. Okay, so the character limit is fixed when you provide char data type while creating table. To give a quick example, so if you want to create any table, this is how you provide branch code, varchar, employees, integer. So this is a simple table with the 2 columns. So here I gave varchar, not character. So when I say varchar, this command is basically used to adjust the columns and table length as required. So basically you can get a number of characters. So maximum allowed is 50. So that you can have 2, 3, 10, 100 or 150. So based upon how much characters you give, it can adjust. So that's what varchar says, right? It's a variable. Characters count can be changed, table length as required. But in character, if you define something like this, now for example, employees character 4. So whatever values you provide in this employees column, those should be 4 characters only, right? So this is used like, for example, you have an ID. So table have an ID. So ID is like format, some something date format or something. So obviously the character count will never change. If that is your requirement, then you can have like this char of 8, so that somebody tries to break this format, then they will run into error. And if that is like branch code, this can also be character, because branch code, if you go to any bank, they will maintain some fixed length of characters. If that is the requirement, you can use char, and if you don't know about it, use varchar. So that's the difference between these two data types, and this question is very commonly asked. Next, so what is difference between now and current date? See, both are built in MySQL methods. So I'm explaining this section based upon MySQL command syntaxes, because syntaxes vary based upon which database you are using, like MySQL, SQL, Oracle. So there is slight difference, but overall concept is still same. So basically, people frequently use these two commands if they want to get dates, but there is a slight variation. So if you use now method in your SQL query, so that means you are asking to give the current date and time, everything of your server. You will get time as well when you use now method, but whereas current date will only give you the date but not time. So that is the difference. So based upon your requirement of your client, whenever you are creating a new table in your SQL, just check with them if they need time or not. If they don't need, you can use current date method. If not, you can use now, right? So that's a slight difference which one should know while working on the dates. Okay, so next, joins and group by. I would take one example and we'll write a query, because this is something which cannot be explained theoretically. You need some practical problems, and let's solve that in our next lecture and understand thoroughly about joins and group by. Alright, so what are joins and group by? So before we see definition of this, we shall try to do one practical SQL query, because you generally don't get a theoretical definition asking for your interview. So people try to see your query writing skills. They will give you one scenario and see how effectively you use joins and group by to solve that. So just for practice and to just get basic idea, I am going to show one query. Let's solve this, right? So there are two tables. One is information about companies. So what is the company name and what is the branch code of that company, and employees. So basically there is a company called Infosys, and every branch have one branch code, right? So there are n number of branches for each company. So for this branch code, 200 employees, and there is a company called Deloitte. So there is a branch code Dell NYC, and employees are 540. And you see here that Infosys came two times here. Basically branch code is different, so that means different branch, different employees. So like this, what is one table, and there is another table called company address. Okay, so in this table we don't have information about location, we have only code. But there is another table which gives what location based upon the branch code, right? So assume that there are two tables like this. Now you have to get this query solved, right? So the query is get details of company name and their respective location. So you have to give the company name from here and the location if the employee count is less than 150. So basically you have to see where employee count is less than 150. So it's in the case of Infosys London and Rahul Shetty Academy. So these two companies have employees less than 150, right? So you have to write a query that will retrieve the results of these two records, because these are less than 150, and also with the location name, right? So how do you get location name here? Location name is not present in this table, so this is present in another table. So how exactly you retrieve the employees less than 150 and give their correct location name? Okay, so one way the relation between these two tables is branch code, right? So how to find a location name? So Infosys London, right? For this branch code you have to search here in London, matches, and this is the location. So this is what you have to extract and give. So how do you solve this? Okay, so this can be solved with the help of simple joins. So if you get a question like this, people will initially confused, because this seems little tricky that multiple conditions are there. But calm down, and whenever you see query something like this, 99% times there will be definitely joins involved, maybe groups also might be involved. So first of all, try to see how to merge these two tables into one single table, and then try to apply any condition like if employee count is less than 150 or not. Okay, so now I will write a joins query which will merge these two tables. I'll go back to SQL editor. So right now these two tables are already there in my database. You can see them. Select star from company. Right, so these are the details. Similarly, there is another table. Select star from, exactly how you are seeing here, same information is present in my database table. Perfect. So now I will write one join query to merge and join these two tables. Let's see. It's very simple. So I hope you have some basic knowledge about what is join. So in this lecture we will refresh our existing memory. Okay, because we are going through interview questions. Select. Now whatever you want to select columns, that's a secondary, but we have to join these two tables, right? So from company, give one reference to this company. So table reference as C, so that you can call the columns of this table with C. Join. What next? So company address, right? So we are clearly telling that join company with company address. Joining the two tables, and reference let's give as CA. Now we are saying to join, which is okay, but on what basis we have to join? We have to tell clearly that if the row branch code matches with the row branch code in company address, then merge these two tables. Something condition you have to tell, because SQL query can't merge it directly. Based upon condition what you give, on that basis only it will merge. So condition can be given with the help of on keyword. On, see, any column in company can be retrieved with the help of reference C, right? C dot branch code equals to company address, which is CA. This is from another table, CA dot branch code. Right. So we have clearly given information that just go and merge these two tables based on condition that whenever you see there is a match for branch code in this table to branch code in this table, right? So now GSFO matches with GSFO, so this will come in one record. Okay, so let's say select star, so that it will retrieve all the columns after merging these two tables. Right, you see that these two tables are merged into one single table now, and wherever the match is found, it just merged. So from this merge, you are interested to know the company name and their respective location. Okay, so we are not yet there of doing this condition. First let's merge properly. So get details of company name and the respective location, of course employees also if less than 150. So if that is any interviewer's requirement. So now let's get a company name. So company name is actually found in this table, right? So to give this row number, you can, and that is the reference with C. So you can say C dot name. Okay, so company name can be called with C dot name, so that if name column is also present in this table, it won't create misconflict, because you merged these two tables and assume that there is another name column in this table as well. Now when you say select name, which row it has to pick? Should it pick column of company table or company address? So that decides based upon how you call with a reference. So you are calling with a reference of C, which belongs to company. So company's name column will be retrieved. Next, we need location. Location is present in company address. Okay, so ca dot address. And you need employee count. Employee count is present in company's table, so c dot employees. Right, so this time it will pick only 3 columns. Let's see. Sorry, it's location. So if you see the company address table, I gave wrong column name. It's location, right? So ca dot location. Perfect. You see that we have successfully grabbed 3 columns after merging the joins. Okay, now from this table, your goal is to see get the employee count which is less than 150, right? So here 200, 540, 100, 390, 770. It's easy for you to write with a where condition. You know that there is a where condition in SQL, that where employees belongs to company, right? C dot employees less than 120, and that's all. And now you are applying this condition after you join both the tables on this condition, branch code. C dot, sorry, spelling mistake again. If you don't give right column name, then that will definitely throw an error. And here you go. So Infosys London 100. So this is the row written. Okay. So here this is the border condition. You are asking get me the employees less than 120. Okay. So this row is not picked because it's a 120. You are asking something give less than 120. And thus at that time you have to provide less than or equals to, so that you know Rahul Shetty Academy row also will be picked. So this is how you can write a condition in SQL query to retrieve the records. So when you read this statement, query statement, you will be little confused initially, but as I said, when you are given 2 tables by interviewer, that means definitely he is expecting to merge them. So think in that perspective and solve the problem, right? So that's about joins on high level. Welcome back. So now I want to quickly talk one more query on group by, because that's also one of the common interview question, like people try to see if you are able to apply filter with group by concept. Yeah, so let's do this one example as a quick brush up on this SQL group by case. So get the count of employees working in each location. So this time it's not related to company name. So we just need employees total count working in every location. Now in Hyderabad, so branch code is INHYD, right? So there are 2 branch codes actually have for Hyderabad location. So this is in HYD or SHYD, right? So you should get a count of Hyderabad called 320. This is interesting, right? So based upon branch codes, you have to get count. Again, it's very simple. The query looks little tricky, but ultimate goal is to join them and see how you can apply filters. That's all I can suggest, and let's do that in that way. So we already seen how to join these 2 tables in the last lecture. So first of all, I would run this query again, select star. Right, so we got a table with the merge conditions. So now we need location first. So ca dot location and employees. Employees present in first table, right? C dot employees. So as per our query, we just need only employees working in each location. So let's run this query again. Right. So this is an output, but this is our partial solve. We want to get the count of employees working in each location. Okay. So here there is only one location, New York 540, which is okay. London, Bangalore, San Francisco, everything is one location. So there is no concept of again summing up. But here there is one location called Hyderabad where there are multiple rows. So our goal is to sum these and write 320 here, because we just need count of each location, right? So if there is any survey doing like how many software engineers working in every location, so this is how you should get an output. So how to merge these two rows? Till now we have seen how to merge tables, right? You can merge two different rows with the help of group by. So group by is one concept. You can say group by what? So you have to group by location, right? So when you say group by location, it will see what all locations have Hyderabad as a name, and it will group all these rows into one single row. Okay, now if you come back to definition, it says group by class is a SQL command that is used to group rows that have same values. Okay, so this is one row, this is one row. You can group these two based upon the value. Okay, so that's what. So if you say group by location, right, so it will now see how many Bangalores are there and it will group everything, and similarly how many values are there for London and how many values are there Hyderabad. So it groups. Let's see what happens. So this actually only writing group by will not have much impact. I'll run this and you see that it grouped. So basically you see there is Hyderabad, there is only one single row. It just grouped it, but you don't know that what operation it has to perform on grouping. Now if you skip group by and you run again, you see that you got another Hyderabad. When you apply group by, these two got merged, but after they got merged, you can tell your SQL query what you should do on that group. Okay, now after these two groups are merged, you can tell on that group apply sum. When you say like that, for that specific group Hyderabad, in Hyderabad, it applies sum on employees 200 and 120. Okay, it's very simple. Now we are extracting employees, right? So when you group by, there are two employees available, so it randomly return the first employee. But if you say something like this, sum of employees, and now what happens when you run with group by, under Hyderabad umbrella these two records will come and it will immediately see that user is expecting sum of that employees, so it will sum 200 plus 120 and give you output as Hyderabad 320. Okay, this sum belongs to aggregate functions. And now when you run the query, you see that you successfully got sum of the two locations. If you don't provide sum, then it will blindly give one employee count, though it has two. Whatever it written first, that it will share, because you are not telling SQL query what to do. You can do sum, you can do multiply, there are so many operators on that. You can do division based upon what aggregate function you provide, that applies on that group and you get a desired output. So this way, right, so our output is what we expecting, also achieved, get the count of employees working in every location. So we could not appreciate about other locations because there are like only one single location and no more grouping or sum required. But this is a special condition where we achieved with the help of joins, group by and aggregate function. So this is a classic example which involves all the important SQL classes like group by, joins, aggregate, and give you the output. Okay, so this way interviewers will try to test your skills. Query will be very simple, but they will make sure it have all these operations so that they can test you how well you can effectively write group and joins, right? So that's pretty much about this question of joins and group by. Regarding joins, statement is like you can make a connection between two or more tables based upon the matching column, right? In our case, matching column is branch code. So now I hope you can understand definition of this after seeing that practical example. So that's why I told you example first and I'm reading the definition again. Okay, so let's continue in our next lecture. In the next lecture, I would explain you what are different type of joints are there. So now whatever you've seen is a normal natural joint, but there are different combinations like inner, left, right, full. So we will again go over few examples to understand these joints. Alright, thank you. Okay, so in this lecture we will concentrate on left joint and right joint. So basically some more information about these joints. So in the last lecture we have seen how the joint works, right? That's nothing but inner joint. So you can either say joint or inner joint, both are actually same. So there are two more joints which you need to know as part of that joint family, that is left joint and right joint. So I have taken one example to explain clearly the difference between the normal joint of what you have seen and left joint and right joint, and which need to be used in what particular context. Okay, so let's clearly understand first how exactly this joint works with this example, and then we try to design a SQL query to implement this logic. Okay, so this is one of the most important topic because whenever you go for interview regarding SQL, you cannot escape from a question being asked on joints. Okay, this is one of the common question asked in every interview. So explain about joints. So you can say that there are three type of joints: inner, left and right. So let's understand about all these three. Okay, now I'll take two tables. Like I'm actually taking one example. Now first understand this example and then we will come out with a query. So this is one table. Okay, student details of RO. RO is nothing but Rahul organization. Let's say that I have an organization and that name as RO. So in my organization I have built a table which is nothing but student details. Okay, student details of RO, and this is the information present in that table. Okay, so it gives complete details of students like name of the student and ID of that student and the age and his gender and the location from where he is. Okay, so these are the different details present in my RO student details table. Okay, so let's assume that they have attended for a board exam which is conducted by the government, and results are also will be announced by the government only. Okay, so these guys have written an exam, and later whatever the respective board it is for that exam have announced the results. Okay, so basically when they announce results, they just give ID number of the student and the what grade he got passed in. Okay, so A grade, B grade and C grade, the total different 3 grades given to the user based upon his performance. Okay, just assume that this is another table. This is given by the board. Okay, that exam board, these are the results. So they are not giving any student details and all. They just give, basically we say hall ticket number, right? By the hall ticket number we will get the result of the student. Similarly, this is the ID which is a mapping with here. Okay, so there is a candidate called Raghu in my student database and his ID is 4. So when the results are out from the board, I can check his result with this primary key ID 4. Okay, so this is a mapping and relation between this table and this table. So this is a 4, and when I try to get a table with the 4 ID and I get his grade as A, so he passed it in the A grade. So that's where you can find a relation between the grades result table and your own student details of your organization. So these are two different tables present, and this is what you have in your organization, and this is what a board exam organization gave you. All right. So now I need to get student details of Rahul organization. Okay. So this table actually have the student details from all the organizations, right? So exam is conducted to the all organizations, and RO is nothing but Rahul organization, which is our own organization. So like that, exam is conducted for all different private organizations, right? So you need to be specific. Here query is get me the student details of Rahul organization and with the results who passed in the exam. Okay, now I'm actually giving one scenario and I'm trying to bring this joins concept there. If you observe carefully, so you might see some IDs missing in it. For example, Mathru is a student here, but he is missing here. That means he did not pass in that examination. So that's why there is no grade for him. And when the grades are out from the board examination department, you are not seeing his record. So that means he failed. All right. And one more thing, there is an ID called 7 here. Okay, that is not present here. What that mean? So this student belongs to another organization. Okay, he is not a student of Rahul organization, but he just belongs to another organization, and he got passed from that school, whatever it is. Okay, so there is no guarantee that everything should match it here, because this is a table from all the organizations in the world, and he might be belongs to some other candidate. But when you say that this candidate is missing here, if you say like that, he failed. That's why it's not present in the table. Okay. So keeping that in mind, get the student details of Rahul organization with the results who passed. So basically, I need the student details who just or who only passed in the examination. So for that, you have to actually map this to this table using this primary ID key. Okay, when you want to join two tables, I told you right in my previous lecture, you should have one column common to this both tables, and that should be the primary key in one table, which will be a foreign key in another table. Okay, to be blind reminder, just make sure there should be one unique column which should be common to both these tables, so that based upon that you can drive your query. All right. So you can use ID as your column, and you can use a normal join, which you have already used in the previous lecture. And yeah, if you map, you should get information like this. Okay, so how this table formed? Let's understand this first. Okay, now first we will understand the output, and then we will decide how to write a query. Okay, first understand, grab the concept. Now Ram, basically ID is 2, right? So map it with 2. Yes, 2. Baba is the name. So name is a Baba, ID is a 2, and he's a male, and yeah, location he not required, or you can give, or it's up to you. But main thing what you have to see is a grade. Where is a Baba? And he's a grade A. You see that we mapped these two tables into one single table using joins. Okay, so now from this table, I am very clear that I have all the details of my Rahul organization, and I also have the result, which is not present here. So to get this information, you basically related these two tables and got this. Perfect. If someone asks you to get this query, and you should write inner join query to get output like this. Okay, what query we need to write, I'll talk next. First understand how output need to be designed. Next, my next query is get student details of Rahul organization with result. Okay, who appeared in exams. You see that here I am just asking to get who passed, so I blindly mapped this two. So but here I want results of all the students who appeared in exam as well. So that means all these guys are appeared. Okay, earlier we did not give this user, which is Matru and this Sai, because they're not passed, and now I need each and every student detail who appeared in exams. Basically all appeared. Okay, so when all appeared, you will also have the grades of them, but Sai and Matru grades are missing, right? Because they did not pass. So you got an answer as a null in their place, isn't it? So basically when you hit a table, I need to see every student. If it is a pass, then map from this table. If it is a fail, just make it null. So this is called left join. Okay, so you should write a query in such a way that you should get output like this. So you know why we are using left join for this query? So left join actually map these two tables just like a normal join. Okay, so like this only, first it performs the operation. But when you say left, that means when you map this table to this table, this is the left table, right? So make sure you give all the rows of your left join, no matter what. If you have a mapping column, even if you don't have a mapping column, write them, give all the fields whatever you see on the left, but if you don't find the mapping, just provide null values. That's what left join says. But whereas normal join says, if you find exact mapping id 2 then 2, then only print that row. That's what join says. Okay, so that's why query, if you want use this query, your question should be like this: give me the student details who passed in this exam. So we are just asking mapping, which is mapping logic, like if two matches, get exact map, if not skip it. That's what this query says. But here I want, no matter if it mapped or not, give me the mapping table between this and this, and make sure all the left columns are displayed. If there is no mapping, just give them null. That's what left join says. So you might be wondered, why do we need this left join concept? Yes, if this is the query, what do you do? So in your interview, if you get a query like this, just forget an interview. In real time, you have these two tables and someone asked you to give me the student details who passed in the exams by mapping them, but he said that along with who passed, I need every detail who appeared in the exams, no matter what they pass or fail. So that means you have to give every row, all the student details. Okay, so that's here you should use the left join, and that's where situation comes. Now right join is simply opposite to this. Okay, when you map this, no matter what mapping is found or not, make sure all the right rows are present. In left join, here Matru and Sai are not matching, but still we mapped, but as mapping is not present, in place of grades we put null, right? Similarly for right join, 7 is not present here, isn't it? So that's why you see that 7 is not present in left join, because left join only maps all the left rows. It can leave right, but when you say right, you have to make sure that all right rows are present. So now 7 is present, though mapping is not present, you map it, but write simply null values when student details are not found. Okay, so in what context you use this table? Okay, if you have query like this, get me all the student details with result who passed in exams. Okay, are you getting exact idea of why to write this query when you have asked this? Okay, let me explain. So earlier I said get only Rahul organization details, but here I am saying that get all the student details results who passed in exam. So everyone passed. Earlier we skipped it because this is not a student of RO, but here question asked is give me all the student details who passed. So when you try to give that, but you don't have a left join here of organization details, If that is the case, he might not belongs to Rahul organization, but if you still want to report it, report as nulls. Okay, because you won't have access to another organization table, right? So you have restricted to only RO table, which is the Rahul organization. In this case, when someone asks you to pull out all the people results who passed in exams, you should give all the details, but here as there is no mapping found, you give null. So that means in this case you will use right join. So right join makes sure that all rows are present, but if there is no mapping found with the left table, it will simply populate with the nulls. Okay, so that's how you bring all these joins. So I can simply say a definition and leave saying that left join maps to all the rows from the left table, and if it does not find mapping in the right table, it will populate with null values. And whereas right join maps with all the right table rows with the left table rows, but if we don't find mapping with the left table, it will populate with null values. When you say normal join, it will map left table and right table only if match is found. That's the only difference. So this table only match is found, and here return all left table rows and give null if no map found. Oops, let me, if no map found in right table. Actually, let's better write it down. Same thing, reverse. Right table rows. So basically, when I explained this concept in my previous batches, I used to get questions like why it is used, where it is used, do we really use this left and right? Okay, we use it. And now this is, if these are your queries, if you come across, let me know if you can write in another way apart from using left and right. Okay, so that you have to use this. So that's why, you know, I have clearly explained by taking a real-time example. Cool. So now you know how the output to be displayed, but now our main challenge is to write a query to display this output. We understand theoretically from last 15 minutes, and now let's put a practical and write a query on this. Okay, that's very simple. Let me go back to my workbench, and you see that this table name is student basically, and I have already pre-populated and created this table. Okay, I just don't want to again waste a time by creating table. So this is the table what I am talking about, student table, and this is a grades table. Okay, cool. Now if you want to just get a join these two tables with normal join or inner join, it's up to you how you call it. You can write select, you want name, ID, gender, age, grade, right? Name, ID, or you can use I need everything. Make sure you have give correct details. Yeah, ID, age, or let's give star so it displays everything. Select star from student and I'll take that table reference as S. Okay, inner join, or use a normal join just like what you have used in the previous lecture, both written same, and with grades G. Okay, on. So basically, on what basis you are comparing these two tables, you have to give this. So I am comparing this based upon ID, right? Okay, you have to give that. Then only this SQL can understand how to merge this table into one single table. So basically, I am saying that I am using student S join with grades G on S dot ID equals to, and same, g dot id. Perfect. So instead of star, now I can start defining this. I need from S table, as S is written, S dot, you can use name, and S dot id, I'll use the same thing, S dot gender, because these three should come from the student table, right? These three. Now S dot age also belongs to student table. Now I need grade. Grade is something from grades table. So I will say G dot grade. You see that? It's simple and self-explanatory. You are actually asking to print these columns from the student S and that join with grades table based upon this condition and give me the values. That's all you are asking. Let's run this now. Perfect. You see that? We got a clear output of what we are expecting. That's an intersection of these two tables, like which are common. Right. Now for left join, you need to write a same query. Okay. So instead of inner join, just say left join. That's it. That's all you need to do. And now you run this query. When you run this, it will make sure all the rows of this table are present, and then it's try to map. When mapping is not found, inner join does not show that. Left join will show, but it will just give null values on the right side. Okay, so let's run this and see. You see that all the rows of left are mandatorily present. When mapping is not found, you use null, and you have to use this when you come across a situation where people ask you to map two tables, but somehow they want details of first table, all the details of first table, no matter what mapping is found or not. Just like this, they just want student details of Rahul organization who appeared in the exam. Okay, it's not who passed. Here I'm asking only who passed. Here I want everyone result. When a Matru result is not present, you will show as a null. Cool. And same thing as right join. Okay. Now you run this and you see that it will make sure all the right table rows are present. You see that. And whenever it not found mapping for this ID, it simply return null. I hope you are very clear on the difference between left join and right join and inner join. And sometimes people also say this as left outer join, but outer is optional. You can skip that. In latest versions, SQL clearly made outer as an optional thing. So you can just call it as left join, right join, or inner join. Okay, this one, if it is a normal join, you can actually even skip this. You can skip this and just say that I am actually retrieving from two tables. Instead of on, you can say where. This is how we generally write a query, right? This is also valid for this case only. Okay, if it is a normal join, you need not say inner join and on. You can simply say that grab all these from these two tables and make sure you map like this, and this also returns a same result as inner join. That's it. So that's pretty much about the joins. Okay, so we have spent a good enough amount of time in writing some queries and understanding deeper about joins, group by. Okay, so let's continue with some theoretical questions again. So what are different type of strings used in database columns? So I have clearly discussed a difference between varchar and char in our previous one of the question, but there are few more string data types we have which you should know. One is a set, blob, and varchar, which is obvious, text, enum. So all these data types can be used when you define strings in your table, right? So here is what you have string, right? All these are strings. So this data type is just not only about character or varchar. You can still have few more things like blob. I'll soon come to a question like what is blob data type, but these are different type of strings available. I would request you to Google and see what exactly difference between each and every string and where to use, because I can give you some direction like this, like these are different type of strings, and you should do some homework from your side to explore more on this, because this interview sections is all like assuming that you have knowledge and you are going through this video for brushing up your skills, right? So that's why to some extent I will push you to show up the things, and please research further to understand what exactly each column does. And obviously you will find in my MySQL testing course about all these details with examples, right? So how can you change the name of any table? And this is where you have to use a command called rename, because this command is very less frequently used. So if you see mostly used commands, you will not see much this rename, because people will mostly hear about create, alter, drop. So that's why you should expect some question like how to rename table name or column name. So the keyword is the rename table, and this is like old table name to what is the new table name. So this way you can change. So you can, I think you have created a table with the example what we did in the previous lectures. So try to change the table name by giving the old table name to and new table name. So this is how you can change the tables in MySQL, and I think syntax should be same in other databases as well, right? Okay, so what is the difference between primary key and foreign key? I'm sure that you will get this question if people want to ask you or spend some time in MySQL, right? So the primary key is used to identify every row of a table in a unique manner. Okay, now let's take one example. So this is one table. So in this table, if you want to get details of any row, what do you think a primary key here? Okay, so obviously employees can't be primary key, because if tomorrow employee count reduces, if somebody resigns, then it would be 99. So this row cannot be called any time again if you depend upon 100, because this is a variable. Okay, so let's see, can you retrieve the row uniquely with the name? Yes, you can't do that as well, because if you say get me the row with Infosys, there are two rows. Okay, so definition of primary key is that every row of a table should be identified with a unique manner. So here branch code column is identified as a primary key. Okay, if you read here, every branch and company have their unique code. So obviously a branch code is used to identify that branch uniquely, right? So here also same thing applies. So I can say that from this table that this branch code is primary key, because I can use this to uniquely pull up each and every row. So I can say select star from this table where branch code equals to this, and I can get out of it, right? So that's the high level about what is primary key. Foreign key. So a foreign key refers to field or collection of fields in database record. So primary key can be only unique in a table. So you cannot have multiple primary keys for a table. So in this example, we have only branch code column as primary key. But whereas a foreign key can be one or multiple in a table. Okay. And this foreign key in a database record that uniquely identifies a field of another database record in some other table. Let me explain you. So definition looks little tricky, but if I explain in layman terms, you will understand this. Now assume that there are two tables here. So in this table, this is primary key. And if you see this table, you can simply guess that primary key here is a name, because location have duplicate values. So somehow we decided that name is a primary key which identifies the columns uniquely. So the name column is present here also. So if you try to merge these tables, or if you join them, or even if you don't join them, you can refer this column to this table. Okay, so here we call this as a foreign key because the word itself says foreign. That means this is a primary key in some other table. Okay, so now here it is a primary key, right, this row, but in another table you can refer that this is linked to the primary key of another table, as it is coming from another table, another world, that's a foreign. So you can say that this field is a foreign key and this is a primary key for this table. Okay, in simple terms, it establishes a link between records in two different tables. So if it provides a link like this, if you try to update any row, then it will force you to update here as well, because you established a connection by telling I am a foreign key, so I am linked to the primary key of another table, right? Meaning a foreign key defined in a table refers to primary key of some other table. And foreign key can accept null values here, but whereas primary key cannot accept null values. Okay, if you want again a practical example to see how that establishes link between records, I would recommend you to see any of my YouTube video or check out my SQL course. But no one will ask you like get a link, form a link, and do that solution. So they just want to know if you know the difference between primary key and foreign key, and they would like check what exactly difference is and how would you explain them. Okay, so in simple terms, do remember that a key can be a primary key for another table but becomes foreign key in your current table. Okay, so that's the difference between these two keys. And when do we use like operator in SQL? So basically this operator is used if you want to use a regular expression and filter the results based upon some patterns. So there are two wildcards which are very famous and widely used with the help of this like operator. One is percentile and another one is underscore, right? So percentile is like it represents 0, 1 or a number of characters. Now I will quickly show one example. Right, so select star from storage 2. There is one table in my database, so this returns all these records. Now if I want to get the records with a book name which starts with Appium, then I can say where book name equals to Appium. So this is like a simple condition to return the books which have Appium name, right? And this is one way. And if you don't know the book name exactly, or if you think that the first letter or first few letters will be constant and rest could be dynamic, so in book name it might not change. If anything, if you are not sure, you can give a regular expression pattern. So you can say like this: select start from storage where book name, instead of giving exact equals to, you can say like and say starts with A and percentile. So when you give percentile, so that means after this letter A match, if you have any n number of characters, doesn't matter, give me the results. So that first letter should be A is what we are telling. Rest can be anything. It could be one letter or two letter or three letters. Again, when you run this, it will give you the same result. You see that? Because it matched only first character and the rest is like percentile, the regular expression. If you want to use that, you have to mention with like operator. Similarly, there is another word called underscore. It represents a single character. Okay, now if you write like this, now you are asking to return the results which have first letter as A and there will be only one letter after A. because percentile is like you can have n number of letters 0 to n. So that's why appium matched. Now you are clearly forcing that only one letter should be there next. So let's see if there are any books which have only two characters. So that first character should be A. You see that there are no books. Now let's do one thing. Appium. I will miss last character, and now when you run this will work, because we are saying like these are like first few characters and there can be one last character. You see that appium got returned. So that's where the like operator will help you to use the regular expression. And I would like you to go through this table. You can see a number of combinations, like find any value that end with A. So last letter you can give A and front you can give percentile. And if you want to find any value that have or in that string, that could be first or last or middle, you don't know, right? In that case, both sides you put percentile, so that it's like a substring. Okay, and if you want or in the second position, give first letter as underscore, so that first letter could be anything. Here we put like last character, right? So like this, you can try different combinations by going through this table. However, you can download this document once you complete 100% of the course. You can ask me and I can share with you. Right? So overall goal here is to understand like operator and what are wildcards you use to concatenate your like operator is the concept you want to grab. Good. So what is blob data type? So this is also one of the special data type if you want to store the data in your tables. So you have seen a data type of strings like varchar, char and integers. So similarly, there is one data type to store huge amount of data or binary data. Like if you want to store photos, like there is a student database where they give ID, name, address and also photo of the student. So they give that in binary format. So all those large object binary related JPG formats, everything we store in tables using blob data type. Okay, so this is also one of the famous interview question. You can tell that blob can be used when there is concept of binary objects holding huge amount of data. Like if the data is 2 MB, 3 MB, then you will use this data type to store the value of that column. Okay, right. Next, how can you retrieve the data in sorted order from the table? So you want the data in sorted order. So let me show you one example how you do a sorted with the order by class. So right. So let me take the same example of the storage table. So right now when you query, so this is how you get the order. So if you want to get these sorted in either ascending or descending, then you should give order by. So how you want to sort, based upon which column you want to sort. Let's say you want to sort with book name column. Okay, if you want to sort in ascending order, then give ascending, and if you want to sort by descending order, then give descending. Right? So now when you run this query, so this will be shown in descending order sort. So book name appium will show in the last, because we are doing now descending order on that column. And you see how the book names are sorted. Now it is reversed. So if you give ascending, or if you don't give any name, then by default it sorts in the ascending order. Okay, you have to explicitly mention to give descending. So this is how you use order by clause on any column name. So idea here is to ask that how do you sort, and order by class should be your solution. Next, what is a view? Again, this is one interesting question. A view is a virtual table. So this is not a real table, but this is a virtual table, and this table also contains rows and columns just like a real table. But the fields in this table, in the view, are from one or more real tables. Confusing, right? Again, let me explain with one example. So this is one table. Select star from storage to, these are the books. Now if you want to customize this table, where order by book name, or you can say, let me use the same. Okay, where book name equals starts with S, right? What happens if I give like this? So it gives me the book, it gives me the books all with starts S letter, right? Because we have used a regular expression. Now this is the result based upon the condition of book name starting with S letter. Now you can create a view with this condition. Okay, so the goal of view here is that it's a virtual table and the fields in the table comes from one or more real tables. Now let me create a view for this so that you will get clear picture. Create view, table starts with S. This is your a new virtual table, right? So this view, and to create this view we are giving information as, you have to give keyword as and then pass this entire query here. So now what happens, it takes this query, get the results of these, and it creates one virtual table, and that virtual table name is table starts with S, and the data will get stored in that virtual table. So tomorrow if you want to access a data which starts with letter S, you need not give condition like this, because for this condition you created one virtual table with the help of view. So you can say select star from table starts with S. So one new table is created for you which exactly gives the value starting with S based upon the condition how you created that virtual table. Now first let me run this view. It will say that view created, right? So now one view is stored in your database, and now you can hit this table and you see that you got the results. Now instantly you created one virtual table called view. The table name is table starts with S, and table is created based upon this condition. Okay, so that's what the definition also says. Like, it's a table contains rows and columns, but these comes from real table. So based upon the condition what you have, you create a view and then you can use it to get the result, so that you need not call this condition every time. Call it once with a view and use it whenever you want in your application. Okay, so that's about views, and I hope you can explain with that example like what is the real-time usage of it, right? So how can you retrieve particular number of records from the table? So when I say particular number, now this is a table and it returned me 4 results, right? So if I want only 2 results, top 2 results, then there is a keyword called a limit. Limit keyword will help you to retrieve the results based upon how many you need. If you give 2, then it will give me only top 2 results. You see that it just returned me top 2. So it depends upon how many numbers of results you need. So basically people might pick one record from top and they blindly go with this limit keyword, right? So goal here is to tell that you can limit the number of records you can retrieve using the limit class available in MySQL. Okay, nice. Next, so what is the difference between group by and having clause in SQL? So in the last few lectures I have explained how to handle group by with some practical examples, right? Okay, so I think the question is wrong here. It's a where. I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is tricky. So where and having clause looks more similar, but there is a thin line of difference. So that difference you will understand only when you know about group by class. So that's why I have taken one example earlier to explain query with practical example, like what are groups and joins, right? Now let me recall that example again to show where exactly the difference comes. So here if you apply where, right, now let me take this. So you have given a join operation, right? Now on this join operation you can apply where so that you can limit the results. Now for example, let me run this join query again. This give me the details of name, allocation and employee. Now if you want to get the employee count less than 120, then you can use where condition that get me the employees who's less than 120, so that Infosys and Rahul Shetty Academy will be skipped. Okay, you get those two results because you are asking only those two, right? So where is applied before you start actually applying group by. Okay, so after you apply group by, if you want to filter results further, then you have to use column called having. Now, so you applied group by here and these are the results, right? Now if you want to get the results where sum of employees less than 120, now you cannot use a where here because you get syntax error. So after you apply group by for your table, and if you want to filter results as I told after group by, then you should use having clause. Okay, having the sum of, what is the column name? C dot employees less than equals to 120. Okay, now I hope you understood the difference. So having should be used with conjunction of when you use group by. So both where and having will help you to filter the rows based upon the condition. So where can be used if there is no group by concept, like normal join operation or any SQL query, you can use it. And this cannot be used after you filter the records with group by. So that is the main difference you have to understand. And that's also tell same thing in this para, that group by class having is used to exclude records or filter records after grouping, and where is used before grouping. So do remember this difference, right? So there are different aggregate functions available. So we have discussed one aggregate function called sum. Similarly, just like how you have summed up employees, you can get average count of employees or what is the number of count of employees as well. See, there is difference between sum and count. Okay, so let me show you the difference. Now I will remove this having by. Okay, or I'll write in another table. So we have already seen how to sum the employees. Now if you say count, then it will say how many columns of employees are there. You see that Hyderabad have two different employees. Okay, so when I say two different, now this is a general operation, right? So employees Hyderabad 1 and again Hyderabad 1. So count, it just counts how many number of columns are there. 1, 2, right? So that's why output will be 2. If you say sum, then you will get 200 plus 120, 320. If you say average, then you will get 200 plus 120 divided by 2. 320 by 2 will be your average. You see that average is 160. So like that, these aggregate functions can be applied after you filter results based upon group by. You can get minimum. So 200, 120, two values there. What is the minimum? 120 is the minimum value, right? And now when you try to apply minimum, you see that you got 120. And if you want to get maximum, 200 will be your output, right? So this is how you can use aggregate functions to do any operation based upon the results you got from your database. Okay, so what are common SQL functions? So there are some functions which we use frequently if you deal with databases. So one is concatenate. So if you want to concatenate two strings, then concat is a method, and there is a method called format current date. Okay, that returns current date or time. And we also discussed now method, right? This function will help you to get time also, but current date gets date or time. And more importantly, sometime you need the information like what is the current month. So you can simply say select month, that will give you the current month. And you can actually insert values into your record. Now if you want to add a column, like whenever you are creating new record in your table, that should show the month. So you can simply pass this month function so that at runtime SQL will execute this function and place current month in your database tables. And day, year, week, weekday, all these are self-explanatory. And if you want to know which hour, which minute, which second, for those also there are functions. And if you have two dates, so basically these are used if you are into banking sector, like account creator date or account suspended date, duration, everything you can calculate with the date diff function. And same thing, so it will give you sub times. So the only difference here is, here it gives you the dates, and but here it gives you time, like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. and you can get difference between times using subtimes method. And there is another function called from days. So it basically converts integer number of days into a date value. Okay, so these are the different functions. See, there are a number of functions, guys, but these are like commonly used and commonly asked. Like if I want to get R, is there any function in SQL? Yes, there is a function called R. If I want to get difference between two dates and date diff, times, subtimes. So do remember all this. You might need, or you might be expected any question from these. Mostly people will ask from these common SQL functions. Okay, I'm not going in depth of what each and every function does. See guys, if you can just Google, you will get so many examples on this. So for every function here, you can just Google and see what are different type of variations you have. We are explaining and doing some practical theories as well, but that depends. So this is like important concept, where, group, by, having, and I have shown them. So these you can simply find in any of website on SQL related tutorials, right? So SQL constraints, this is also one of the important question from testing perspective, like what are SQL constraints? So basically these are used to define rules. Okay, and when you create a new table, so how should that column behave? So you will give some rules in form of constraints. Okay, so the purpose of using this constraints is to enforce and introduce some integrity for your values in the database. So perfect example, I have given this link here so that you can refer. So from W3 Resource official website, let's go to this website. So here you can read that there are a few constraints here. So when you create a new record or in your table, so you should make sure to see if that record have not constraint called not null. Now for example, so let me take this storage book again. Right, so these are the records, right? So not null constraint. Now for example, if there is a not null constraint for this book name, so that means you have to mandatorily provide a value whenever you add new record to this table. Okay, so this constraint says that column cannot contain null value. So if you try to add a row with null value in this column, then it will not allow to insert new record in this table, because whenever the author created this table, he has enforced a constraint called not null to that column. Okay, so here is an example. So when you create a table, create table, table name, and you will give constraint. Okay, so for example, this is one table, right? So I can say not null constraint to which table, which column? Name column. So I can pass like this, so that automatically this not null constraint will be applied to name column. Okay, next there is another constraint called unique. So that means it does not allow or insert any duplicate values in that column. So if that is your requirement, see here are some duplicate values. If you give unique constraint to this book name, then it will not allow to add another row with the same Selenium book name. Okay, and primary key, which is obvious, we have already seen a primary key and foreign key constraints. that primary key is something which will help to identify that row uniquely. In our case, the ID is the unique. So this is our primary key constraint, this column name. So if you have this ID as a primary key, I think there is one example. Let me show you. Somewhere I have, yeah, you see that I have given constraint of primary key to ID column when I am creating this table. So this is how I provide constraint. If it is not null, you can give not null constraint. It's up to you what constraint you have to provide. And we also seen about foreign key, that it will help to link between this table and another table, and in that another table, that is a primary key, but in our current table it is referred as a foreign key, right? So check. So this constraint is special, that you can have some valid logic here. So you can read the definition that the check constraint determines whether the value is valid or not from a logical expression. So that means you can put some condition that IL number should be greater than 400, something like this. Okay, so you can write check and if IL greater than 400. So when you write constraint like this, so whenever you add a new row again, if you add any row with IL number less than 400, then your check constraint will not allow. That will throw an error, so that you cannot insert a new record which have less than 400 if you have something like check constraint, right? So this is useful when you have some requirement and if you forcing some rules to add any data based upon some conditions. Okay, and last one is the default constraint. So if you mention this as a default, then if any user don't add a value for it, so let's assume that you are adding this row but you don't have author name, so it will by default gives Rahul Shetty. If you put default, use this name. Okay, so whenever it's a null, it puts your default value, right? So that's where default constraint tells you. So whatever you set as a default while creating table, here you can say default, whatever you define here, that will be placed if you don't provide any value. So these are different constraints available, and this will help you to set and enforce some integrity rules for your database. Okay, I request you to remember this, so that if someone asks you like what are different SQL constraints, you should be able to tell all of them and explain the purpose of these constraints as well. So this is the best link. You can visit this link and go through all these descriptions so that you can get some picture on this. Okay, let's go back. So what is default table, right? So we just saw that current date is one function which will help us to retrieve the date, but from which table? So whenever you write select star from table, database goal is to get the data from table, but here current date is one function, right? So how does that play role? So that means, so all your SQL functions can be called from a table called dual. So this dual is one special row and which have one column. So basically that's a default database. So all SQL functions it supports. When you say select current date from dual, this will give you the date from your database. Okay, so this dual is nothing but a one row, one column. Based upon what function you give, this function output will be generated in this simple single row, single column. For that, we use a dual, which is a default database, right? Now, we have also seen one function called concat, which concat two strings, right? Now, if you want to use that SQL function, concat hello world. So when you run this query, you see that hello world are concatenated and gave you the output as hello world. So these are the functions you can execute. For that you will not have any table, right? So by default every Oracle database support one default data table called dual, and you can use from dual and call these functions. This is very important question, guys. So you have to remember that this default table will help you to call all SQL functions. Alright guys, so that's about top SQL interview questions which are frequently asked in QA automation interviews. So we have gone through all miscellaneous and tricky concepts, and we have done some examples, lab examples as well, with the help of joins, group by, having, like operator, order by, limit. So these will help you to answer most of the questions in SQL, and I would recommend you to continue practice these queries so that you get a better confidence before you attend interview. Alright, see you in the next section with one more new module. Thank you.